Hello, everybody. Well, it's happened. I've read a novel. I've read Javier Marías' The Man of Feeling. I read it in this Vintage International edition. You know, they did a standard edition where all of Javier Marías' books have this very sans serif thing. The cover depicts this apple, this shiny apple shot through with 3 arrows. And I feel like this mix of like stillness and violence, a kind of memory penetrating, a piece of fruit. This feels right. Overall, I'm not super hot on the cover. This book was already kind of like read when I got it. I got it used, and it had already been kind of like messed around with. There was already kind of like a slant to the spine, and it was just like a little bit crinkly. And there seemed to be marks kind of like palimpsested into the cover here. Someone must have like written something with an orange pen that bled through the page, and used this as like a little desk. And I have his copy of The Infatuations in that edition. I've been meaning to reread it, which is why I got this paperback. I had the hardcover. Actually, my introduction to Javier Marías was when Marías was in high school, when my teacher said that he really liked this book, and I went ahead and bought it, like the hardcover, even though that was like quite an expense for me at the time. That hardcover is now on my dad's bedside table. And basically, since enjoying The Infatuations, I've collected All Souls and The Man of Feeling. All Souls being a novel that I think is kind of it might be a little bit controversial because there's like some campus stuff, and then there's like another novel called like I forget what it's called, that kind of views this metafictionally. And then I got this book, The Man of Feeling. I think I got this like really cheap at like St. Vinny's or something. And I just had to get it because not only was it like a Marías book that I'd never heard about, but it's like an earlier one. So, you know, Infatuations being kind of a later one, I'd say, because this one's published in, this one's 1986. And Infatuations is 2013. So it looks like this was, this paperback came in between him publishing the 3rd volume of Your Face Tomorrow and publishing, I think, this book. So this book, Yvette points out, is a bottle episode for a little bit of it. I mean, I thought that it was going to be a bottle episode. I mean, you know, I'll say it's almost a bottle episode. The way it's described on the back gives you that sense. I think I should have intuited from soon the singer's life of constant travel, luxury hotels will become entangled, that there would be some entanglements that would need to take place outside of that train compartment. But Javier Marías actually says in his afterword, which is here, it's his epilogue, Something Unfulfilled, that the book actually has its origins in its opening image. So really, in its opening image, which was something he actually saw in life, he spent 3 hours sitting opposite a woman who on a train from Milan to Venice, who corresponded exactly to the moral and physical description that the reader will find a few pages into the book. So, so that sense of moving along on this kind of train of fate with these like mysterious characters who are married and who have deep, dark kind of secrets that you're about to sort of uncover and meddle with is very Marías, and is very attractive as a read, I think. I know that Marías loves Nabokov, and I feel like the start of this book, the pleasure of the start of this book reminded me of the pleasure that I had in starting King, Queen, Knave and reading the amazing train scene that starts that book out. There's a description in the start of this book of about how these people on the train stare impassively ahead as though the back of the seat, or the empty seat opposite, was a detailed account of a future already known to him, and which he was merely verifying. See, that sort of validates what I was saying about the book kind of being about a little bit about fate. And it just illustrates what I'm saying about how good these train scenes can be. The way the novel is constructed, you know how people will like to, hear about certain shapes and then think about novels as being, constructed by that shape? Well, late in the book, a trilobite is mentioned, and that kind of a spiraling fossil reminded me of kind of some sort of structure erected on a memory that both a dream is, and a lot of this is like the narrator talking about relating dreams, which is very interesting to me because I actually write down my own dreams, and that's I've been doing it for a long time and have like hundreds and hundreds of pages of writing down my dreams. Thanks to Brian Booker for recommending that I do that. But totally lost my train of thought. I knew there were going to be too many clauses in that sentence. Anyway, maybe that structure of memory that circles around is what's going to make rereading this book so good, is that sort of you'll be able to kind of cut through it and see right to the heart at any sort of spot around the clock between 1 and 12. Yeah, gosh, this novel is just like this was a really pleasant read. There are like nice pages to it. And yeah, I really loved what he said about cities early on. And it's really actually a believable account of the life of a singer. Like vomiting is calamitous to a singer, for instance. Singers like to not talk or sing to preserve their voice. Their vibratos are stentorian. They have, tense relationships with the other singers who they think are overblown and egotistical. They, all these kinds of things. They have dream roles. They achieve a little bit of artistic success, and then it's not enough for them, or they are extremely melancholy still and want more. What did I like this? Oh, yes. And then, yeah, this novel really has so much going on. It has so much kind of spiraling around. That shell is really kind of filled with meat, the trilobite of this novel. There's not only, so there is the intrigue, like the pure intrigue of just like somebody spying on two other people. There's like romantic intrigue of the narrator kind of falling in love. There's the kind of like spookiness of like an austere old rich man who seems to have some sort of like power to exercise. There's a kind of weird assistant named Dato who's tough to figure out. In addition to that, this whole novel is kind of kicked into motion by the narrator telling about his dreams. And indeed, the first sentence of the novel is something that came to Marías and is one of the things he had first when writing the novel. I don't know whether I should tell you my dreams. It's interesting. It's almost like he's saying, I don't know whether I should tell you my dreams, so I'll say that it's really happened to me. Or I don't know whether I should tell you my dreams, so I'll say that, I'll make it a novel or something. Something like that. Basically, so in addition to all those intrigues, you have this sort of like this, the reality that the novel is kind of a tale of a dream that the narrator had. And the telling of the dream reminds me of the telling of certain dreams that I've done in my dream diary, which is like, you're so interested in your dream that you even want to record what the circumstances of recording the dream are like. So you'll be like, oh, I'm writing this at the cafe, or you'll say, I wrote the first part of this before 8:30 this morning, and I'm just writing the last bit here at noon, in a moment when I could write it. Things like that. There's so many references here to breakfast and eating, and how eating is like this border between the dream world and the real world, between telling the dream in a way where you're really connected to it, and telling it in a way where you totally have no grasp of it anymore. And this can be likened to the way in which, and Marías explains a little bit about this at the end. Love is felt when it's sort of dreamt, not when it's actually had. When it's either remembered or anticipated, you feel it really, really intensely. And then when you have it, perhaps those feelings are not as intense or something. And so that's why this novel, there's a good explanation at the back. I don't want to spoil too much about what happens in this novel, because it actually, like many Marías novels, works as like a spy novel, as a kind of mystery, as a kind of wonderful kind of, romantic mystery. I really can't wait to read more Marías books and see what happens. I guess the next one that I have in front of me to read is All Souls. Although I'm really interested in that trilogy, and I'm interested in Tomorrow in the Battle Think on Me. I think there was actually a copy at the book deal of The Voyage Along the Horizon, that early one that was published by McSweeney's. If anyone has that and can recommend that, let me know. Anyway, this is what I used as a bookmark while reading The Man of Feeling. I used this orange sesame chocolate chip cookies envelope. There's nothing in the envelope. It was just used as a kind of explanation of a dish of cookies that was nearby. Another thing I'd like to say is that some of the best parts of this novel, I think, are the stories about opera singers that crop up in the middle. One of my favorite moments, one of the moments when I really registered that I was reading this with the most enjoyment, was when, and here's my book of the complete stories of the great operas. I brought this out, and my neighbor said that she really liked it before. I initially got this as something to sort of collage from, but it's really kind of cool, and it would probably help me understand. A review of this would be really good for if you're reading The Man of Feeling, because I feel like references to certain roles that are played in both Verdi and Wagner operas are really important to the novel, and they could kind of probably give you more of an intellectual kind of hold on the book if you really understood those, but of course, understanding those isn't really necessary. But anyway, as I was saying, one part of this novel I really enjoyed was this description of the difference between someone who's like a Wagnerian opera singer and someone who isn't. It describes the kind of madness and obsession that engulfed one particular Wagnerian singer who couldn't stand to see any seats in the auditorium empty. And that scene alone is really wonderful and would be like a great story if this were a collection of stories. But as it is, it's a really kind of nicely, dreamily put together novel. And I hope I'm giving you the impression that this novel has a lot of things going on. And I think what's most impressive about it is that it has all those things going on, but it's really just told in this really kind of nice, solid, authoritative voice, this calm voice that really allows for a feeling of unity. So you aren't really like, oh my gosh, now there's another thing, and now there's another thing. They're really folded in and kind of kneaded into the novel, as into like a dough, really subtly, so that the unity of the book is not really, is not harmed. And you feel like you're almost kind of partaking of like Marías' sort of undivided mind, this sort of, this prose that sort of enters the story, and no matter what its writing adds to the story, it never loses its unity as a voice, and its singularity as like a mind to follow. I don't know if any of that made any sense, but I'm just trying to give you an impression of like what the pleasure of reading this novel is like. The prose in this novel is, I think it's like not quite as sort of, I need to reread the Infatuations, but it felt like the consistency of it was like a little thinner than the Infatuations being more like this kind of, box of solid chocolates, and this being more like a hot chocolate drink or something like that. What was I going to say next? Yeah, I really believed the music stuff in here, and I really enjoyed it. It made me want to read other music romance novels that I have lying around. I keep on talking about Unequal Music by Vikram Seth, and I really want to read that book really bad. That's what I was reminded of here. But another thing I was reminded of here is just the pleasure of like how you can have books on your shelf and you haven't read them yet, but it's really nice when you have, multiple books on your shelf to choose from, and you just light on one and tear into it with that feeling of like impulsive needing to read just that one that day. Even if that's one that you bought years ago. And I think I bought this like a couple of years ago. Yeah, so I really liked reading The Man of Feeling. Just finished reading it. I hope my discussion of some of the things that are going on here interest you. These kinds of like, I'll call them maybe like bottle mysteries, or sort of realist fiction mysteries, or sort of like domestic mysteries or romantic mysteries. These mysteries that take place just between like some people who are kind of confused about each other and a little bit scared of each other. I hope that you're interested in these, because I am, and I'm going to be reading more of them soon. Everybody have a good day and have a good time reading.